What up, what up, what up? What's going on? It's your boy Kanos, Kanos, Solo Creators, with another finished mix. I'm gonna keep it short and simple on this one, just short and simple. In this video, I'll be missing 5 beats, only 5 beats, produced by my boy M2 from Solo Creators. I'm only using the stock plugins by Pro Tools, just the stock plugins by Pro Tools, nothing else, and the custom settings that comes with them. That is all. I gotta say though, man, I had crazy fun mixing these beats right here, man. Shout out to my boy M2 and the solo team, our solo entertainment group. Let's get it. Oh, by the way, if y'all like any of these beats, any of them, all 5 of them, are available under an EP called Pop Talls Instrumental by Solo Creators. Pop Talls Instrumentals by Solo Creators. Available on Spotify, Apple, Deezer, YouTube Music, you name it, we there. Solo Creators. For exclusive or non-exclusive license, just reach out. SoloCreators.com. Again, SoloCreators.com. Let's go. Alright, so we're gonna listen to this beat for about a good minute and a half or so. The whole mix, uh, how it came out with the plugins from Pro Tools and custom settings, that came with it. The beat name is, Kia at 116 beat per minute. Let's just hear it, see what it sounds like. It's a little, up tempo beat. Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you. Alright, so that's the whole mix right there. Uh, you know, half of it. Now we're gonna listen to it without any plugins, and that way y'all could hear the difference, and what it's like just to mix with the plugins from Pro Tools, and the settings that comes with it. How much time you save, and as far as like beginners, they could use these plugins and the settings. If it sounds good to your ears, let it rip, man. You know what I mean? It's just you just gotta feel it. You gotta feel it. Eventually you get into frequencies and all that other stuff. EQing correctly and all that. So for beginners, this is great. You know what I mean? Just mix with the Pro Tools plugins and their settings. Saves you a lot of money, a lot of time. And then in the meantime, you continue doing your research and learning different things. But don't let not having those, all that high tech plugins keep you from doing, what you're trying to accomplish, which is getting a good mix out of your sounds. You know what I mean? All right, so now we're gonna listen to this beat without any plugin, and we're gonna take a listen just so that y'all could hear the difference. Uh, without them, And it's like I said, I'm actually just using um, plugins by the stock plugins by Pro Tools. That's it. I'm not using nothing crazy. Um, and the settings that comes with them, like I said, it's just something simple. You don't have to go crazy because remember, once you mix this, it's like basically you're not going for mastering or anything like that yet. So it's got to have a clean, mix. The panning's got to be, where it needs to be, especially when it comes to drums. You got to pan them correctly and get a good level, man, and just start adding, some nice plugins and following those settings. And if it sounds good to your ears, man, just like I said, just let it rip, man. Just go for it. But yeah, let's just hear it without any plugins and see what it sounds like. I think I'm gonna have to lower the level on this key right here on this melody. This piano might be a little too loud, but let's just hear it. You see how it's like it's all over the place. Um, so let's just add. Show you what I did. It's real simple, nothing crazy. I said I just all you gotta do is just add plugins and follow the settings. Sounds good to your ears. You know what I mean? You just gotta let it go. You know what I mean? But especially the drums, like if the kick and the bass they kind of clashing together on this mix before the mix. So I kind of did like a side chain on this. If you don't know what's a side chain, I mean you can look it up. It's something simple. It's where you have a signal control the level of another channel basically. So whenever the bass comes in, the kick kind of stays behind it. You know what I mean? Let the bass ride, back and forth, or vice versa. It could be the bass side chaining the kick, or the kick side chaining the bass. So, but like I said, you could do that with the Pro Tools, plugins. It's amazing, what you could do with this, plugins and like I said, for beginners, it's great, but it's all about your placement. All right, y'all. So here's a quick run through, track by track. Uh, you know, I'm bypassing the plugins, and I'm gonna just solo every track so that we can, take a listen. Here we go. This first track here is just, the trademark, the tag that we use for, all of our beats. solo creators. So let's take a listen real quick. Let me take this off right here, and we're gonna play it. Creators. So that's basically with the plugins, without the plugins. Creators. So as you can hear, this is just using the Pro Tools EQ and compressor, and I believe I'm using T-Rex, the Classic Studio Reverb edition. It's pretty good, very affordable, really good for drums and vocals. To give it that play, that that reverb that you need. The settings are pretty much self-explanatory. Like I said, you just go through them, and whatever sounds good to your ears, you let it rip. And that's kind of what I did with this tag right here, because it's vocals. I just added a quick play, as you can see, play and delay, and it sounds pretty good. And as far as the EQing, I kind of just did like one of these settings right here called the mailbox. You just give the vocals clarity, in the mid and the height, and then kind of brings down the lower end, which you don't want in any vocals anyway. To give it that clarity that we're looking for. And as far as compression, like I said, you just use the vocal compressor. It's just real simple, nothing crazy. For beginners, it's good. You don't have to worry about all this stuff. All these settings are pretty much in place. As far as your vocals goes, Pro Tools is good for that. They're good. They're known for that. So let's just hear it again with plugins. Creators. And just hear it again without the plugins. Creators. So you see the difference? All right, now let's move on to the bass. This is my bass. As you already know, bass is what drives the track. So we're going to solo every track, and these are the two plugins that I'm using for the bass. Just a compressor and just a EQ and a compressor. One EQ and then compress. And I kind of did like a auxiliary track for it. So basically, that's how I worked most of the tracks. This way, you could save space if you don't have a computer that runs pretty fast. That has all these room. Then you want to do this to keep your computer from crashing and just running smooth. You want to basically just send a signal for the tracks that you're trying to add compression and EQing and whatever thing you're gonna add to it. Just send it to a bus, which is auxiliary. It's kind of like auxiliary, not bus. It's an auxiliary. We'll get into busing in another section, but so it's kind of like what I did with every track. Here's the bass. I'm gonna play it without the EQ and compressor. So now I'm gonna play it with the EQ and the compressor. So it has a little compression, kind of brings it down. And then as far as panning, you want that right down the middle. What I, suggest, being that everybody listens to everything on their phones nowadays, you want to be able to, keep a track and pan it left and right off the bass and kind of just, bring it down. I usually go -20 on some, most of the time. -20, -15. This way I can still have that stereo sound, coming out the bass, and then just the one that's right down the middle. You just want to, keep it at a good level and just keep it in the center. And then, so let's hear it with the compressor and the EQ. So that's what it sounds like. Now we're gonna move on to the kick bass. Kick bass. We solo this here. We're gonna hear it without it. So that's what it sounds like without it. And I kind of like I said, I added a EQ and compression to it. Let's just hear it with it. All right, so being that I took off on the bass, most of the bottom, I kind of added to the kick drum, bass kick drum. I added it back in, so I could get that full sound out of them. This way, the bass kind of goes together with the kick. Now, always keep in mind that the bass is kind of always competing with the kick or the bass kick. They always compete together. So you want to be able to get that punch out of both of them without crashing into each other. So in this sample here, I kind of used what's called a side chain. It's called a sternal side chain, which is basically, it's kind of like you having a track telling another track when the compressor should be reacting. It's kind of like the kick controlling the bass signal. This way they don't crash into each other, and it sounds pretty good on the mix. Just hear it together. See what it sounds like. You know what I mean? So they kind of ride together, and they're not crashing into each other. So you always want to try to do a side chain, external side chain. If you have a bass and a kick. There's what's next. We got the snares coming now. Kind of did the same thing on the snares, where as you can see here, I have snare right down the middle, which is where you want them all the time. Bass, snare, bass, kick, and snare. You want it right down the middle. That's what drives the track. Everything else you kind of play around with it, panning left and right. So let's just hear the snares without anything else, just the snares. Here we go. And not the snare. That's another kick, so I'll get back to that one. Here's the snares on the bottom here. There we go. So it's a really busy, heavy, strong snare. I have a couple of snares running. My bad. A couple of snares running on this track. So let's get back to this kick here, and then we'll come back to the snare. I don't want to bypass this one here. So this is another kick that I'm using on this track. The first one is kind of like a bass kick. This is kind of like more like just a straight up kick, So on this one here, I have the same thing, EQing, compression, and I used the T-Rack gate template, you know, and it gave me that sound that I was looking for, where it's not too busy, it's not taking from the bass kick, and it kind of ride together with the bass kick. This way, I have the bass kick riding with the bass. Now I have this kick riding with the bass kick, so they all come together, and I get that full sound that I was looking for out of this track. So here it is with the plugins on them. See, I got that little reverb going on. I got the compressor going. So now let's just play it all together. See how I get that sound that I was looking for. And they all ride together, man. Share their own spaces and all that. That's what I'm looking for. So that's what you want to look for when you mixing bass, kick, and snares. All right, now let's go down to snares. We already went through them. They place right in the middle, like I said, and I did the same trick that I did with the other ones, with the kick and the bass. Kind of, up and up, left and right, and left the one right down the middle. The ones going left and right, just lower the, go down to like 20 some dBs, between 15 and 20 dBs, minus 15 and 20 dBs, and that will create that stereo sound, just in case somebody's hearing it in one of those weird phones, and they're able to hear everything clear, and a good sound out of it, because it'll sound like it's panning left and right. So let's just hear the snares. For snares, I said I just these snares were pretty busy on the mid low, so I brought them down. As far as the compression goes, it's just like I said, snare compress, boom, it's already set for you. Pro Tools is known for that. They're really good, for their settings. So that's going, and then I kind of used the T-Racks on here as well for the reverb that I was looking for. Kind of got like a reflection going on. So let's just play it all together. See, I wanted like that slap and that reflection going, So it's like, what I mean? Like it sounds like it has a hi-hat on there, but it's not. The hi-hat's coming up next. See what I mean? So now let's move down to the hi-hat. As I said before, kind of did the same thing here, but I let this one go, and let me see, I went just and panned it at minus 15. You could either go left and right, 15, 20, left and right, left or right, I'm sorry, on the hi-hat. Same thing goes for the cymbals. So if you got any cymbals going on, plates, whatever you want to call them, you want to do kind of like the same thing. So if you have the hi-hat going at 15 left, you want to have the play at least going, 20 on the right, so they don't crash with each other. It's kind of like building your own band, like, your own stage. You want to place everybody on a different spot, so everything, sounds good when you play it all together. So let's just hear this without the EQ and compressor. as far as the hi-hat and cymbals. Now let's just play it with that compressor and the EQ and compressor. So basically on a hi-hat, it's real self-explanatory. You want all the bottom uh, to be, lower, like down. Like the only thing you want is just, a little height going on. So that setting's already with Pro Tools. So if you go to hi-hats here and you go to clean hats, I believe it's this one. Yeah, clean hats. You click on that and it's already set for you. Like I said, it's for beginners. This is great. You know what I mean? And as far as compression goes, you just want to add like a clean limit. Nothing crazy. Some simple. You don't want to compress it too much, because then you're gonna get that heating sound coming out of it. So it's kind of what I did. Now let's hear it with the EQ and compressor. So now I'm gonna add. I'm gonna solo the one that I pan left and right, so I could get that stereo sound, kind of like what I did with the rest of them. Alright, so that's where we at with the drums. I believe now we're coming with the, I think there's a piano on here. Let me solo these tracks here. And again, kind of did the same exact thing. The only difference is that I believe on these tracks here, this one's here, I went hard left and right. That's the piano. And I went right down the middle with the other two. So I kind of, kind of like what do you call that? Duplicate. I duplicate this channel right here, which is right and right. You see, it says right and right. It's kind of the same thing, but I didn't pan it left and right. I just left it right down the middle. And let's just hear it without the plugins. I'm gonna play it from the top. Sounds, a little crazy, a little loud, but not, too loud where it's kind of like, hitting that red zone. It is on the red zone, but you know what I mean. It's not crashing. So that's where I'm at with that. Then I added, did an EQ on this one here in one of the tracks. That's to get that sound, it's like I think it's called like a hack sound that I got out of that one. And then the rest here, same thing, EQ, lower as much as I could because it was a busy piano. So I kind of lower almost the whole entire thing except for the heights, so I could get that clear sound. Compressor, I added, like I said, if you come here, acoustic guitar, even though it says acoustic guitar, you could use that for your piano in Pro Tools, the custom settings. I figured that one out on my own. And it has good settings for, keyboard, piano. Then as far as the reverb goes, like I said, I use the Classic Studio Reverb by T-Rex, and I just put a medium church on it so I could get that, that sound that I'm looking for, where it's busy but it's not busy, and it's here but it's not here. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but you understand what I'm saying. And on here, I also used the kind of on this one I went on the aerodynamic, so I could get that full sound that I'm looking for out of the keyboard. And then we also added a filter, a gate filter, just so that when so it's kind of like the reverb that's on there is gonna bounce. It makes it bounce like it's a delay, but it's not really a delay. So that's how I got that sound. You're gonna hear it now. I'm gonna play with everything now. So you see how it just stays playing. There is no delay on there, like I said. But I use the Pro Tools air filter to get that sound out of it. So it's kind of like it kind of triggers the reverb that I got playing to sound like a delay. Now down here, I got the me on solo this here. Same thing. I use EQ, compressor, and I added a classic plate to that one. And forget what that sounds like. So now I wanted that sound to kind of have like a shadow in the back of it, like kind of like the same sound, but it's like I use a plate so I could get that sound where it's like something else in the back that sounds like it, but it's not crashing with it. Let's hear that with plugins now. So I see like it's a shadow in the back is there, but it's not there. So I get that reverb that I was looking for as well. And I think on this next track I got me on solo this here real quick. And these are just so this one's here kind of did the same trick as I did with the I'll mute this. So kind of did the same trick that I did with the other ones with the drums. I opened up one left and right. I left one right down the middle, and I kind of played with the levels to get that full sound that I needed. And I also did that here as well with this ones here. So it's like I said, I've been doing this for a while now, and I noticed that it sounds good when you listen to it on an iPhone or Android, whatever phones you got, because most of those phones nowadays is mono. It's not really a stereo unless you put your headphones on, and then it's a whole different story. So you want to be able to give people the same quality sound that you have in stereo in mono. So that's what I've been doing with these tracks like that, panning left and right and leaving one right down the middle. Um, this is just an effects down here. I'm gonna play it all together with the you know, EQ compressor and the effect. All right, so now on my master output, basically that's is where I got all my uh, all my sound fields basically, like signal, the signals coming in, where if it's pan left and right, what's the frequencies and all that. So for this here, I usually use waves. Um, you could use the ones that come with Pro Tools as well. Basically, this is just telling you what your mix is gonna sound like after you add all the effects that you add on. As far as EQ, compression, and reverbs and delays and all that. And it kind of tells you, if it's panning left and right, what's the frequencies on the bass, the mid, the heights. Um, so, and then this one here is it just gives me a level. I don't want to, I want to be on the red, but not on the red. You know what I mean? Like you want to have that bounce. So that's just what I use this for, a pass meter. And then this meter here, it's a really good meter reading for beginners. Um, it's by Clownhelm, BUMT meter. You can find it on their website, and it's very affordable, and it kind of gives you the levels, that you want to be in. It's more self-explanatory than the past analyzer. So this one's analyzes the track, gives you the left and right, and then this one here don't give you the left and right, um, but it does gives you the level that you want to be in. So if you want to have a good mix, you want your track to be bouncing between 4 and 0. So -4 and 0, kind of hitting the red. If you're getting it ready for like pre-masters, then you want to have it between 8 -8 and -4. All right, so we're moving on to the next. This one here is called Leapop. It's another instrumental by M2 solo creators of the EP Solo Creators Instrumental Pop Talls. This is the second track or instrumental on that EP. That's already out there on all platforms, digital stores, and all that. And like I said again, if you need exclusive or non-exclusive license, just feel free to reach out solocreators.com, and we got you on that one. Now on this one here, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna mute. Actually, you know what? We're gonna play it from the top. After the mix, so yeah, we could compare it. And on this particular section here, remember in that first section from Kia, I had said that you could EQ first and then compress. On that section, I had to do that because I had to play with those frequencies from the bass and the piano. They were kind of loud and distorted, so I kind of played around with those frequencies, and then I added the compression after that. but the norm is usually compress and then EQ. That's how the norm should be. But like I said, there's going to be cases where you're going to have to play with certain frequencies before you add compression, so that you could get that sound that you're looking for, and nothing sounds distorted on the mix. Um, so in this case here, it was a pretty good mix, and a pretty good bounce from M2 as far as the level goes. The levels were there, so I didn't really have to play around too much with the frequencies on here. So I used the norm, compression and EQ, and then effects. So we're gonna hear this, and I'm gonna play, after the mix, and I'm gonna play before the mix, and then after the mix again, and we'll move on to the next one. But let's hear this. This one here is called Lipa. Like I said, it's already available on all platforms. Look for it under the Solo Creators Instrumental EP, named Pop Tolls. All right, let's play. Creators. Alright, so that's with the plugins from Pro Tools. Remember, most of the plugins on here are Pro Tools stock plugins, using the settings that comes with it, custom settings. And like I said, I use the T-Rex on here, very affordable plugin, the Classic Studio Reverbs by T-Rex. You get those at T-Rex.com. And they're good for vocals and as well for drums, and to create different type of effects that you want to create of your own. And on this section also, I use the again the same meters, the ones by the pads by Waves, and this one here, BUMT, by Clan Home. So you can get that also on their website, and it's a pretty good plugin. You can even type things to it if you want to get a little creative. Let you do that creative. I mean, all right, there you have it. So now let's play it with no plugins at all. I don't have to I don't have to bypass the meter readers and analyzers and all that. They don't really affect the signal at all. So let's just bypass all this here, and we're going to listen without it. We can check the meters out. Actually, you know what? We'll do the frequency analyzer. Creators. Again, like I said before, on the frequency analyzer, you want to have that little type, where the low levels are higher and the comes in handy. So alright, now we're gonna play it again with with the compression and EQ, compressor and EQ. Let's listen to this now. So then we'll move on to the next one. So in this particular case, tell you right now, I didn't have to do a side chain on this one because there's actually no like actual bass. I kind of used the kick as a bass, where I added, kind of see how I brought the bottom up a little. This way, I could use that as a bass. So let's play this with all the plugins and about a minute and a half of it, and then we'll move on to the next one after that. Here we go.
Creators.
Alright, so this next beat is named Radiant. It's at 106 BPM. Another beat by M2 Solo Creators. Another beat that's available on that same EP, Pop Talls Instrumental by Solo Creators. Available on all platforms. Let's listen to this beat. Like I said, like before, same way. All the plugins are on, Pro Tools plugins, and let's hear it.
Creators.
Alright, so this beat here, Radiant, is kind of like same setup as before. Like I said, usually all my mixes when it comes to instrumentals, I try to set them. The setup is always the same. Double tracks, one stereo, one mono, for the bass. Left and right on the stereo, dB, lower and between depending on the track, between 15 20 minus dBs, or it could be like on this one I got it at 10, so it all depends on the original dB of the original track of the bass. So basically same setup. As you can see, I got the key here, that's a side chain. So basically the kick, which is down here on this bus here, is telling the compressor when to basically function this way, that, like I said before, they don't crash with each other, and the kick and the bass got its own room going on. So That's how that works. Then after that, got the kick, compressor and EQ. And as I said before, always compress and then EQ. And then there's gonna be certain times where you're gonna have to EQ first to clean up and find some frequencies that you need in order to get that compression, that nice compression out of the sounds. So with that being said, let's just play it without any compression or EQ and any effects. Let me mute everything. And the master track, we just leave it alone. Like I said before, the past analyzers and the meters and they don't really affect the signal on the track, so on the section. So let's just play without it, see what it sounds like, and then we play with it, and we move on to the next one. I said, got 5 tracks on here, so I think this is my third one already. So trying to squeeze everything into one video and into one day, so it's a lot of work. This ain't no joke. All right, let's hear that. Shout out to M2 again. And so So that's what it sounds like without any compressor or EQing. Shout out to M2 on this one again. Great leveling. Like he had good levels on the bounce, so it was easy for me to mix. I didn't have to play around too much with any frequencies. So it was a good mix. It came out really nice. The bounce that he did was nice. What we did was nice. And this track is, ready for masters, like I said. As far as mastering, you want to stay, at a good level between -8, -4. Anything after that, if you're just going to bounce it to, play it on SoundCloud, so, throw it on SoundCloud or Facebook, anywhere you want to put it on. Make sure your levels, it's kind of almost reaching the zero, the hot point. This way, you get a good sound out of it without having the master yet. So now we're gonna play it again with everything on, and then we move on to the next one after that. Bypass this one here, so I think that's the way we had it. All right. All right. Let's hear it again. Play about a half a minute, 50 seconds, whatever it is. Let's just play it.
Creators.
that's where we are with that track. We're gonna move on to the next one. On to the next one. There we go. This one here, we're gonna be doing the same thing we did with the other ones. This is called Wavy at 100 BPM. Again, produced by M2 Solo Creators. Um, and we're just gonna take a listen, with the plugins on. Like I said before, I use only Pro Tools plugins and their settings that comes with it to try to help out with those beginners that are kind of getting into Pro Tools and trying to see how to use certain plugins and what's the layout and all that. So let's take a listen on here first, and then I'm gonna mute everything. Actually, not mute. I'm gonna bypass every plugin, and then we take another listen, and then I'll give you like a breakdown of what I did, track by track, and let's see. Let's listen to it.
Creators.
All right, so that's what we got so far. Now I'm just gonna bypass all the plugins, and we're gonna listen to it without the plugins. All right, I think I got a few more tracks down here. This one we're not using, and this one. Okay. All right, so the same thing with the analyzers. We don't, bypass those. They're not really affecting any signal or anything like that. Um, so let's just take a listen on with no plugins at all. See what it sounds like.
Creators.
All right, so that's what it sounds like without any plugins at all. Sounds a little dull, dead. Want to bring that polish out and that shine, you know what I mean? So basically, as far as plugins go and setup, I'm basically consistent when it comes to my, layout. As you can see, same setups as the other ones. I got my stereo track on the bass kick, pant, left and right, at -10 dB, And then I got my bass kick, mono bass kick, right down the middle. That's the one that's driving the track. And then on here we got the kick on the bottom here, which is basically the same setup as the other one. I got the side chain, so I got that bus right there, or send, going into my compressor here at the base, as you can see it right here. So basically, you guys already know by now what's a side chain. If you don't know, then I'm gonna bring it up again. It's an external side chain. It's kind of like routing the signal. Uh, Basically, it's the kick is tricking uh, the compressor, uh, to kind of play along with the bass, and this way they both could find their own, range. They're not, because the kick and bass, they're both punchy. They both want to drive the track, so you want to find that level. So kind of like the side chain, what it does is just helps, letting the signal from the compressor on the bass to play when the kick is playing. You know what I mean? So it kind of like it just plays along with it. Um, so basically, I said with that. I'm gonna move on to. So here I got the compressor, like I said, side chain with the kick. So then I got the EQ, and of course I got my T racks, like I said before. I try to use the same format almost every track. Um, so basically, always remember you want to compress, EQ, and then effects after that. So that's the norm. But there's gonna be other tracks where you're gonna have that, where you're gonna have to EQ first, to find those frequencies and play around with those frequencies, so that once you do the compression on them, it's nice and polished and clean. So there's gonna be times where you're gonna have to EQ first before compression. So, but most of the time it's compression and then EQing. So um, let's move on to the next one. This here, I believe this is just like let me just listen to it. This is probably like a bass. Yeah, so that's a bass there, and it's probably using a side chain as well. Let me make sure. No, I'm not. There's no key on it, so this is just straight up raw. Playing around with it. Kind of found the levels, so it doesn't crash and clash with the kick that's there. The next one here is compression. So this is the kick, and I did the same trick as the other ones. I got my kick pan left and right, and I got my kick going right down the middle. Um, Let me see if I did that one on here. No, I did not. This is just straight up, right down the middle. Same thing with the snare, right down the middle. Um, Added a T-rack, I believe. Yes, I did on the snare, so I could get that effect. Um, Let me see what else. Hi hat. As I said before, hi hats you want to pan in either left or right. Out of minus 14, 15, minus 20 tops. That's what I did there. And then we got the organ. Okay, this one here. It's kind of like just sits in the mix, left to right down the middle. And the second one I left to right down the middle because they're not really crashing with each other. Kind of go along with each other. Let's see what else I got down here. That's just the okay. This is just like an effect, I guess. Let me just play it to make sure. Yeah, so it's kind of like little piano effect. I didn't really add too much to it because it was already I guess it came compressed. So all I did was kind of like add a telephone effect on it to get that, far in the mix sound out of it. And then I added, of course, my compressor but lightly compressed because remember it already came compressed. Added some height on it. What else I got here? Delay, of course, and of course another delay. So this has got to be. This is my delay, and this has got to be my play, which is the reverb. All right. And then on here, this is just the intro. It's just a little effect, so I didn't really go too crazy on it. I added some gentle limiter on it, and then I kind of boost the end and the height so I could get that crazy sound out of the intro. Let's hear it. See what I mean? All right, and that's about it. So now we're gonna play it again. Everything on it. We're gonna go through the patch meters and all that. This is where you clear the meters. The analyzers and the meters are here. You clean them right down here. You click on here, or you click down here. And this one here is fine. So let's just hear it. See what it sounds like. So as I said before, you want to keep the track anywhere between 4 and 0. That's gonna be your bounce for without mastering or anything like that. You just gotta have a good mix, good level, good panning on it. As far as mastering goes, then you want to go in between 8 and 4, dBs, and that's good for mastering right there. But yeah, we're just gonna hear this and see what it sounds like. Alright, so that's as far as we're gonna go with this one. Let's go on to the next one, which is gonna be my fifth, and that should be it for the solo creators, instrumentals, pop tells. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, it's an EP by solo creators called Pop Tells. You can find it on Spotify and all that stuff. You know what I mean? But all right, let's move on. All right, and the last one, but not least. This is my fifth. It's called KOD. It's 98 BPM instrumental. It's a dance hall. Again, produced by my brother M2, Solo Creators. You go to solocreators.com, soloegroup.com for exclusive or non-exclusive licensing on any of these beats. And like I said before, they're already out there on Spotify, Apple, Deezer, YouTube Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Sirius FM, you name it, we're there. Just, go out there and just, listen to it on whatever platform you listen to your music. And if you like any of them, just, like I said, reach out. Here we go. We're going to, take a listen on here. And as I said before, I don't go too crazy on my beats. Keep it nice and short, nice and simple. I use the plugins from Pro Tools and their settings so that I don't complicate, things. And so a lot of these beats, they get purchased and then, labels might take it and do something else with it. So you just got to have a good sound, good mix, and make it sound good for them. You know what I mean? But don't go crazy mixing it, with all these plugins and all this stuff that, like, you're going to use the beat for yourself. Like, you're going to rap on it or you're going to do an album now and then. It's different. Yeah, you want to dedicate that time. But, dedicate time to it, make it sound good, nice and simple, and put it out there, for purchase. And people are gonna grab them. Labels gonna grab them, artists is gonna grab them. Whoever's want beats, they're gonna grab them. So let's just hear this beat. Like I said before, with plugins, and then we're gonna bypass every plugin, take a listen, then put the plugins back on, and kind of do like a quick run through of kind of like what I've been doing on all the beats, including this one here. Let's just take a listen real quick. KOD, Solo Creators, produced M2.
Creators.
That's where we at with that beat. Pretty good mix. Like I said before, the levels were good. As far as the bounce from N2 came with a good level. I didn't really have to do too much to it. As you can see here, compressor and EQ. It's in the way it's supposed to be. If it was the other way around, then that I had to play around with those frequencies, with the EQ first, so that I could compress. But being that it was a great mix, a great bounce from FLP, because that's where N2 does most of his beats on FL Studio, Fruity Loops. And then we bring him here. He sends it over. We bring it here, and we do the mixed and editing, mixing, and mastering. But most of our beats that we put out for sale, we don't really master it, because that's something that whoever buys it is going to be eventually going to do it. So we just get a good sound out of it, good mix, and put it out. So that's why I say, try to use the stock plugins that comes with with the software. In this case, it's Pro Tools. So this way, you don't kill too much time, and you get a decent sound out of it, and just put it out there. So now we're gonna bypass all the plugins, take a listen, and then we'll come back to it. All right, got two more tracks. Actually, yeah, two more tracks. And as you already know, the analyzers and meters, we don't touch them, leave them alone. They're not really affecting the signal. So let's take a listen on here without any plugins going on.
Creators.
It has a good mix. That's without no plugins. See how it sounds? Good level. You know what I mean? Kudos to M2. So that's what it sounds like without any plugins on it. Now we're gonna go run through real quick. So you already know the first track is just a tag from solo creators, which is creators, and I just add compression to it. EQ, like I said before, you could use this is a good setting for vocals right here. Um, it's right under vocals. It's called the male box or the female box, either or, depending on if you're recording a female or male, then you use those. Those are pretty good. You don't really have to do too much to it. Just leave it alone, and you're gonna get a good sound on your vocals. Just make sure your vocals don't have too much on the height when you record them. Like if you are EQing in, which I don't recommend, but some people do. Don't have too much on the clarity, because eventually you're gonna have to do the same thing here. So that's what I do with the tag, which is kind of like a vocal. Then as far as the bass goes, same setup again. So you can see here, I kept my stereo track on the bass kick, on the bass, my bad, and I pan left and right, -12, and then I left my meat, which is the middle bass, the bass that goes right down the line, right down the middle. That's the meat of the song. I left it right down the middle. Kind of play around with the levels a little. As you can see, I lower it -2.5. Then I go to my kick bass. It's kind of like similar to the bass, but it has that little attack on it, so kind of like a kick. So I kind of left that one alone a little. But what I did on that one was I did added a sidechain again from the kick itself into the bass kick, which is right here. As you can see it right there. Boss 9. Boss 9 is right here. We're going to continue moving forward. Let me unmute this here. Unbypass. Alright, so this is my snare. On here, I believe I did a sidechain on that one too. It's kind of like a snare kick. So I didn't want it to, crash with the kick. So I did a sidechain on that one too, a sternal sidechain. So they could ride together and share their space, share the room. Then the snare, did an effect on the snare, a short stereo plate, like I said before. The CSR Classic Studio Reverbs by T-Rex. They're great, very affordable, good for mixing, drums and vocals. On the snare, I did add my compression, as you can see, and my EQ. The snare was a little, dead, so I had to bring up my lower end a little, my mid lower end, to give it that, that bass sound type. Hi-hat, as you already know, did some compression on it and EQing only, and pan it left or right, as you can see. So I got pretty much two different hi-hat going on here. So I pan one left, one right, and then one left, one right, one minus 30 and -20. So the one that's actually driving the song is one here, which is it says 0.0. The other one is just kind of like in the back, just playing around, playing along with it. And then we come down to the all the little effects. I usually just do like a compression on those. I don't go too crazy on them, because they already have like reverbs and delays and all that. So it's kind of like what I do with those. Then as far as the melody goes, uh, let me hear this.
Creators.
Yeah, that just stays right down the middle. I don't go too crazy with it. As you can see it here, it's not pan left or right. So they're all right down the middle, playing along, playing along with each other. Um, and of course, I did some compression on those. These are the other little effects that we got. Those are melody. Um, and I just play with the levels on those to make it fit in with the other ones. And down here we got a little guitar that he's got going on. So all I did was play with the level, left it right down the middle, and added some compression because, like I said before, a lot of some of his sounds already comes with delays and reverbs and all that. So when you don't see any reverb going on or delays on any of these tracks that I do, it's because they already have it. So let's take a listen, and then we should be closing it with this track.
Creators.
All right, y'all. So this is the last track from the Pop Talls EP by Solo Creators, available on all digital stores, all platforms, and also solocreators.com and soloegroup.com. All these beats are available. I'm going to put everything on the description where you can find them, where you can find us, where you can buy these beats, and, we'll take it from there. So, appreciate the love. Leave some comments below. If anything that I missed out or something you want to know how I did it, just leave a comment, ask the questions, and I should have the answers for you on my next section coming up. Like I said, I got another 5 beats coming up from the same producer, M2. I'm gonna be working on. I believe he's got a good. I'll say a good 5 to 6 EPs that I got to be working on. This is the first one as far as instrumentals goes. All right, so stay tuned for more. Later, Kanos, solo creators, doing it back.